All right, so how is everybody doing on this fine summer evening? What is it? Is it Wednesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday night. This is the exclusively male life and relationships podcast. My name is Eric. My friends call me Jaws. Let's get started. So, as everybody gets to walking in the door here, I usually have a little something to say. And today, what I want to talk about up front is consistency and the difficulty that we might find as men in not just remaining consistent in our relationships. That's probably the lesser of the difficult things that we have to deal with. It is imperative that we remain consistent when our significant others are not. We'll put it that way. We all know a woman's emotions are all over the place sometimes, right? Sometimes they can generally speaking be pretty consistent, and then other times they're weeble wobbly all over the place. And if you find one that recognizes and admits that, then you're in pretty good shape, because at least then you know she's not blaming you. But sometimes the most difficult thing that you're going to face as a man is just attempting to show up the same way every day, regardless of where she's weebling or wobbling. And that extends to the rest of your life too, as well, because if you're able to remain consistent in your relationships, then you're probably going to have the same way that you show up at work, show up for your kids, etc. And I don't remember which day it was, because I'm doing this 90 days to becoming a better man series. Today was day 14. I think somewhere around day 11 or 12, we talked about that, being resilient and consistent, especially, like I said, when you're in a relationship. The longer it goes on, it can get easier, because you get to know her quirks. You get to know, you can kind of tell when something's bothering her, when something's not bothering her. And like I said, if you find one that recognizes that it's not your fault and that she kind of just gets up and down on her own, first of all, keep her. Secondly, don't tell anybody where you live, because then guys are going to show up at your house when you're not at work, try to steal your woman. Especially guys with ponytails that give massages. But that's another subject. That's another subject, another story. How's everybody doing tonight? Mythical? Oh, you're talking about the thumbnail. It says John's really been hitting the gym and he has a pet bear. Yeah. Oh man. I had when I was a kid, my uncle had a big like sheepdog, and his name was Bear. And I guess he was moving apartments, so we had to watch him for a while, a few weeks. And one day my parents went to work and they left ribs to defrost on the kitchen counter. And when they got home, there were no ribs. And that was the last day Bear spent with us. He went back to his home with our uncle. Tarko, how you doing, bud? Today's good. It's so muggy. That's the only thing I'll bitch about here tonight. It's what, 8:05? It's still 82 and super freaking muggy. This room in the house, I don't know what it is about this room, but it stays hot and muggy in here, even with the air conditioning on 24/7. And the Wi-Fi signal in here just refuses to reach no matter what we do. But this is the original. This is not an addition. This is the original master bedroom. But I've had 3 cable guys in here say there must be something different in the construction of this room, because the climate in here is it's like a completely different world. Hey, David, how you doing, bud? Just before you head for a meeting at work? Yeah, that's good. Appreciate you showing up. So One of the interesting things that happened on the last show, not the inappropriate conversations with Donna and I, which we might do this weekend, we might not do. Don't know. We're going to hang out with her mom on Saturday, so it just depends on what kind of energy we have. But she found it interesting that the majority of the questions that you guys had, I had a story for. And yeah, I got a lot of stories. 53 years, I've lived a lot. I've lived a lot of life, had so many different lives. In the 53 years, I quit school to go fishing. I was in the Air Force. I raised 3 kids, including 2 autistic boys. I robbed a casino of $250,000, and I was a gigolo. And I'm still not even dead yet. So Katarko says, what's my take on ghosting? Normal behavior? Oh, good question. So ghosting, in my opinion, I think everybody's got a different viewpoint on it. Weakness would be the way that I would describe that. Now, most of the time, somebody's ghosting for one of 2 reasons. You triggered some kind of past trauma in them unintentionally, and they don't even want to deal with asking you if that's what's going on here, and they just poof, and they disappear. Or the second one is that, supply and demand these days is so different than it was in our day, or at least my day, and they can just easily escape the relationship, the situationship, the friendship, whatever it is, and not really have so much of a concern of replacing you. So I think it's just a sign of weakness on the ghoster's part. And I hear about it all the time, man. It's rampant out there, especially women ghosting men, but you hear about men ghosting women as well. So what I would recommend there is, communication. If somebody ghosts you for a day or 2 and you can get their attention back and find out what was going on and what went wrong and see if you can work through it, it's salvageable. But those are rare cases. You have to have somebody that's got extreme accountability for a ghosting situation to be salvageable. Mythical says, what percentage of attraction is related to looks versus personality, in my experience? Also, how much of a difference does it make how women treat you when you're out of shape or look a mess? So I can speak for personal experience where men will say that looks have a lot to do with it, but the reality is that it mostly has to do with how a woman treats us. And a woman will say that it mostly has to do with how you treat her. In reality, it really has to do mostly with how you look. I can use myself as an example. Growing up in my younger days, I was not that bad looking of a dude. And especially in the times when I was jacked from being a bodybuilder, I could get away with saying things, doing things just because of how I looked. Whereas opposed to my brother Gene, who's not really the best looking guy on the planet, could treat her like a queen. Didn't matter how well he would treat a woman. She wasn't going to respect him and treat him the same way. So now in terms of how much of a difference does it make when a woman, also how much of a difference does it make how a woman treats you when you're out of shape or look a mess? So in my experience has been, it depends on the point of the relationship that you're in. So if it's the beginning of the relationship and you're out of shape, you're going to have a harder time catching her attention. But if you're in shape at the beginning of the relationship and then something happens, you have kids, you have an injury, work, and you get a little bit out of shape. And if it happens gradually, she may not be all that disappointed unless you just really let yourself go. Now, sometimes that's not necessarily the truth, or it's a little bit different. My previous relationship before I was with Donna, I was ripped and jacked when we met. And then you guys know the situation I had with the dogs last year and all the stress. And I didn't get to the gym for 3 or 4 months. And the day she left, she called me fat, which I may get a little bit out of shape, but fat's not in my vocabulary because of the Lyme disease. I can't keep weight on. So, but she definitely treated me differently the last year because I just was not nearly in the shape that I had been in. But in my marriage, it didn't matter. In fact, in my marriage, the bigger I got with a little belly and everything, she preferred me that way. So let's see what we got. David says, very cool thing you're doing here. I wish I had this info when I was in my 20s. Yeah, man. Same with me. I mean, I'm still learning. I mean, that's what I always used to tell Karen, because she would be like, you think you know everything. It's like, I don't know everything. I'm just sharing what I know. And you know it mostly because of life experience. Of course, I've been a coach. So, but a lot of times the clients are just not validating, but their experiences are similar to mine. David says, I trust very few men and no women. I trust all dogs and some cats. The more I learn, the less I know. Ain't that the truth? So I'm going to tell you guys a story. Tell you guys a story of something that happened with me. And I want to get your opinion on what I said and if the reaction that the woman gave me was justified. So you guys know what happened. This is with last year with the dogs, and Ellie passed in March. All the stress with Fluffy, all of that, sleeping on the floor for 2 months, getting 1 to 2 hours of sleep every night for 2 months. Day Fluffy passes. Kyle and I go, we do the grave, and we go to the river and the beach. We get the rocks and sticks. We put it on the grave, put it all together. I come inside, I take a shower, and I go and I sit in the loft with Karen. And now she was not one to compliment me very often at all. Certainly past the first 6 months of the relationship. And I sit down, and of course, I mean, I am as spent and exhausted and useless as you could ever be. We sit down, and she says to me, I'm impressed. I was impressed by your energy level, because remember, we were streaming all the Panther games, winning the cup at the same time. So she says, I was impressed by how you handled that and stayed strong, and your energy level and everything that you did. I'm just impressed how you handled that. And I probably should have just said thank you. But I was, first off, so shocked that she was complimenting me. And secondly, the state of mind I was in was just completely, devoid of thought. And so I said something that I thought was acceptable. So she said that and I said, well, I love the things I love very deeply. And she immediately took it personal and accused me of saying that she didn't love things enough. She immediately took it personal that I was somehow insulting her and insulting how she loves. Now, what's interesting is I told that story to one other woman thinking that she'd be shocked. And she kind of said that she felt like, yeah, maybe she would have taken it personal too. So I'm curious because obviously that's a personal situation that I'm so close to. I'm curious. This is me asking you guys now. Obviously, in hindsight, I probably just should have said thank you. But should I have, was she justified in taking it personally, in your opinion? That would be my question. He says, yep, it's always about them, and that's okay. You just got to know that. Right. Yeah. Like I should have known. In hindsight, had I had, I mean, at that point, I hadn't slept for well over 24 hours because Fluffy the last night, well, we got a little bit of sleep, but it wasn't much. But of all the things that have happened to me in relationships, I think that one really stuck out the most. Like because of the set of circumstances. Like here I am. I've just lost both my dogs in 4 months, sleeping on the floor by myself for 2 months with the dog, praying every night for him to pass. And even in that moment, even in that low of a moment, she wasn't able to put herself aside for a minute. Tarko says, women seem to really judge men during emotional phases like death and family trouble at work, trauma, etc. In my opinion, it's toxic. Men are allowed to grieve. It's an interesting dynamic. Now, that was the way with Karen. Now, with my ex-wife, she would try to take advantage of that. Mythical says there's a lot of aerials about what was going on in the relationship at the time and what was going on through her mind, but it could have been talked out as a misunderstanding. Yeah. I mean, of course, I immediately said that that's not what I meant. You know what I mean? But what that did for me is that it showed me what I'd been up against in that relationship. You see what I'm saying? Like it really shined a light on, so like I can't imagine what else I've been doing and saying that she's been taking a complete certain way. And you find out that you've been just banging your head up against the wall that you didn't even know was there. That I think that's what that did for me in that moment, was like really like made me feel like I've been wasting my time here for a long time. And of course, she was gone 3 weeks later anyway, right? So yeah, Mythical, like you said, there was a lot of variables, no doubt. David says, I'm pretty sure I'll stay single till I die. My standards are way too high. I want a relationship where we can both be honest, and that doesn't exist. Now, David, I'm gonna tout Donna here right now. And Donna and I, when I went out into my yard last, Karen left July 30th. August, September, October, November, December, 5 months I spent in my yard almost every night, walking 10, 15 miles if there wasn't a hockey game. And just going through everything that my life had been in the last, kids 31 years, the dogs 27 years, just parsing through everything. And the one thing I wanted to make sure that I accomplished was if I had another relationship, I wanted somebody who had been through so much crap like I had, that they had the same exact attitude of like, this is what it is. This is who I am. I'm just going to tell you whatever the hell I want. I want how it's going to be. I'm not holding back on anything. I'm not withholding anything. It's just like, here it is. And I wanted somebody in that position. And, you know, I went on a couple of dates, and you guys know about the date with the woman whose husband was dying. And then when I met Donna, on Wednesday, she liked me on Match.com. And on Thursday, we talked. And we talked about the first date, which was going to be Friday. And she said, well, what do you want? I said, well, come over. I'll make you dinner. You spend the night. Bring the dog. Don't worry. We don't need to have sex. And she said, okay. And she's been here every weekend since. And like, I know how it sounds, me saying I know she's being honest about everything, but like, she leaves her phone just open wherever. She has me going to her purse to get the keys. She leaves her laptop. Like there's nothing remotely close to even being hidden. And you know, when we talk about what each of us wants and everything, it's just like we've had some hard moments in the sense of things I've had to accept, things she's had to accept. But it's all been from the point of view of, okay, we're going to make this work, because we've both been through so much garbage before this time. We recognize that, you know what, let's just get it all out now up front and decide if can I handle this? Can she handle this? Yes, done. But it's such a rare thing, like you're saying, David, because if you're with somebody, as long as they kind of feel like they've got one eye thinking that they can do better than you, they're not going to be honest. They're not going to be honest. And a lot of times that feeling of they can do better is not going to go away until they've had enough bullshit happen to them where they're like, you know what? Just if I could just get somebody that's going to be honest, I'm good. And that's where I kind of got lucky. Guitarco says, they say, don't let her see you cry. And sadly, I agree. They can't handle it and will never respect you the same. If I was getting emotional, I would distance myself from her. So let me see what my experience has been there. Now, in my first marriage, well, the only time she ever saw me cry was dogs dying. So that was obviously acceptable. You know, Karen kind of got the worst end of the deal there because we were both going through a divorce when we met. And so my ex-wife just was crazy about it. And so she saw a lot of, and I got sick with the Lyme disease at the same time. So yeah, there was definitely a loss of respect, a loss of attraction that she had at some point because of seeing me go through just, you know, so many different things. David says, I have to put up many different fronts, one for work, one for family, etc. My relationship. I just want to be me and not worry about it, so I'm good. Yeah, I talk about that in one of the 90 days videos. Might have been yesterday. It might have been yesterday or the day before. I talk about that, how, you know, as a man, trying to remain being ourselves while also dealing with the different personalities of like our kids and work and the relationship. And we have to handle each one different, and the struggles of trying to remain consistently yourself while also acting different. Yeah, plus he said, plus apparently you can be distant. Well, I kind of believe being distant is a learned thing for men. I really do. Like, I think most guys start off like wanting and like in high school, your first high school love or whatever it is. Like, I think most guys kind of start off wanting just that one person with a deep, intimate connection where it's just like, it's tried and true, thick and thin. And the older you get, the more that you realize that for the most part, that's your guy best friend. You know what I mean? Or when you get to my age, you start to realize it might only ever be the guy best friend unless you meet a unicorn, right? Unless you meet a unicorn. So Mythical says, what's my take on being direct with women versus being indirect on attraction? So I am a bad person to ask about that, because here's the truth of it. I have had, how can I put this without sounding a certain way? I have had a lot of sex. I've had a lot of sex, and I've never once had to approach a woman. I've never approached a woman. All right, David, appreciate you showing up, brother. So in terms of being direct with women versus indirect, I have to give that some thought. Now, I know my brother Gene, like I said, not the best looking guy in the world, but he did just fine with women by being very direct and just exuding that confidence, not in arrogance, but he was just very outgoing, naturally confident, and would just walk right up to people, and it just didn't matter. He did just fine. We were completely opposites. We were, wherever we would go, like, he would be going after the women, and I would be just like, I would just want to go fishing. You know what I mean? I must have been some bodybuilder. What the hell was my workout? It was the blue eyes, Mythical. When it was the blue eyes. I mean, I was in good shape, obviously, but it's not like I'm tall. It was my blue eyes. From the time I was like 3.5, 4 years old, my mom would bring me to the grocery store, and the cashiers were like, "Oh, he got such beautiful eyes. He gonna kill the ladies when he gets older." Like, every cashier, save him for me. So now, I had a full head of dark hair, and I had the blue eyes, and I had body hair at a young age, so that was popular back then. Sarko says, not going to lie, I hate Valentine's Day, past trauma. Yikes. That's my parents' anniversary. That's part of the reason why we want to be down there from mid-January to mid-February, because this is my parents' 50th anniversary. So we want to be down there if possible. But Mythical, yeah, I've never approached a woman. I've just never done it. But it was, now I had my, like, I never, like, if I saw a woman that was taller than me, I just assumed they weren't interested. You know what I mean? And I've been with a few women that were taller than me, but nothing major. But I just wasn't aggressive about it. You know what I mean? Like, I was fine just being on my own. Zoom says, hey, Jaws, friends who just turned 43 has two ladies in their 60s wanting to go out with him, but he feels weirded out, and I'm not sure he should. So he's just turned 43 and he has two ladies in their 60s wanting to go out with him, and he's single? Dude, yes, 1,000% yes. When I was a massage therapist, Half my clients were 55 plus. At his age, and they're 60, they still could look pretty good, and they're going to be very, very appreciative. It's not an easy trait to come by. An appreciative woman in bed. I would tell him to absolutely go for it. That age difference is nothing. He's going to regret that. If he doesn't do it, he's going to get to my age and be like, damn it. Guitarco, any experience or reviews on working with a matchmaker? No, I have not done that. I've seen like what people do. I'm not a big fan of, well, how can I put this? It depends on what the boxes are. But what I was going to say was I'm not a big fan of like having a checklist and then like comparing checklists. You know what I mean? But then again, I kind of did that when I was figuring out the kind of relationship I wanted this time around. So I guess there could be some value there. I guess if you're somebody that has a harder time determining what they really want and you need somebody to kind of drag that stuff out of you a little bit, I would suppose that would be a possibility. Goat Slayer says, good evening, Jaws. Blue eyes got you in the door, but can your mouth keep you in it or get you kicked out of the room is the real question. Women love kicking you out of the room. How are you getting kicked out of the room? Are you too aggressive? See, if they approach you, you just have to let them, you know, you know what they want. Right? Like if a woman approaches you, you know what she wants, right? You just roll with it. Like, so what are you saying to get kicked out? You've been told by exes that I'm better to look at and need to keep your mouth shut. Yeah, they might be right, man. Just roll with it. If you're a good-looking dude and they're coming on to you, okay, what do you want to do? You know, within reason, but if they're coming on to you, that means they're an aggressive woman, assertive woman, a confident woman. So by definition, that kind of woman, they're not really going to want to hear anything you have to say unless they're asking you questions, unless they're really inquisitive about what your life is. Other than that, I have found that if a woman comes on to me and I try to match her aggressive energy, she's out. She don't want that. She don't want that. She wants to feel like she's in control. So if you let her feel like she's in control, you're in control. That's how you control the situation, by letting her believe she's in control. That's the problem. I forget that they don't care to hear what you have to say. Yeah, exactly. Kazuma says one has no kids, the other has kids around 30. You're talking about the 60-year-old woman. So that's why he's weirded out. I told him a cup of coffee doesn't hurt the good thing. The one with the kids works with him and gives. I mean, dude, do it. Absolutely, without question. They can't get pregnant. They ain't looking for a marriage and all that commitment stuff. Absolutely would have to just be the regret of if he doesn't do it. Oh my God. That was my prime age. Well, that's right about the age I was when I was just about done being a massage therapist. About 42, 43. I started at about 37. But yeah, by the time I was into it hardcore at 40 years old, most of the clients were 55 to 65. And, if down there in South Florida, well taken care of, they had some work done. Guitarco wants to know, are there any experience with singles events or speed dating? I think I went speed dating one time in Melbourne, Florida. I forget where it was. What my experience was that by the time a woman is speed dating, there's a reason she's speed dating. They good looking women. Like you get, and you're like looking at the room, scanning the tables, is like, oh, and then they open up their mouth, and you realize there's a reason they're single. Yeah. Kazuma says, my issue with women, I went from having confidence to asking them out to waiting for them to ask me out. I had 2 girls looking at me today in the restaurant and didn't do anything. Now you regret it. Damn it. Especially if there's 2 of them. Well, how did that happen? Kazuma, what made you lose the confidence? What happened, man? Mitchell says women love a guy who has a passion in their life and is busy. If you have a ton of free time available, it's an attraction killer. Yep. I can't tell you. I mean, I would do it on purpose. I would go yard sailing, right? And if there was a good-looking girl at the yard sale, running the yard sale, anybody that I thought would make a decent client, I would find some way to mention massage therapy. Some way. I could totally not be interested, but it could be some really good-looking women, and I would come up and ask about, hey, how much are the curtains? Because I could use them for my massage room. Oh, you're a massage therapist? Forget about the curtains. Done. It's over. So yeah, Mythical. You just have to make yourself sound a certain way. Goat Slayer. Tell them to get the Golden Gauss and chocolate covered strawberries, and those Thursday laundry panties will be soaked and ready to come off. Kazuma says, I think what I mentioned earlier with their disability and constant rejection and ghosting. Yeah. That's tough. Right. Well, that's a whole ball of wax there, isn't it, brother? Well, I guess my question then would be, and I think we talked about this a little bit last time, was just finding what your positive attributes are, right? To use my example, short guy, right? But massage don't matter. I would flaunt what the good parts, you know what I mean? Flaunt the good parts and just kind of ignore the bad parts. If you can get a woman talking to you and interested, like Mythical is saying, if you can get a woman interested, if you're interesting to her, that's half the attraction, if not more. And maybe just start off by just getting used to getting into conversations with women again. You know what I mean? Instead of being too worried about, picking somebody up for a date or whatever, just practicing having conversations with women again where you kind of feel no pressure. Cartar Crow says, I struggle on finding where these single women are. I try bars, but they don't show. And if they do, it's with their partner. Anywhere else, they don't want to be approached. Where the ladies are. Well, where are you living, Guitar Crow? Are you down there in South Florida, or like what's your location? Trey says, don't take care of your sick girlfriend. It's a scam. Oh, I'm sorry, Trey. Trey must be sick, man. Robo Forever says, Guitar Co. A guy once told me, you won't find a saint in a bar or a club. That is true. That is absolutely the truth. So to give you an idea, I'm 186-foot, blonde hair, blue eyes, and speak Spanish. So my friends tell me use it to your advantage. Absolutely. Yeah. 1,000%. Yeah, man. I'd kill to be 6 foot 180. I'm 5'6", 180. I got big thighs. What can I say? So you're in Fort Lauderdale, Guitar? And you genuinely haven't. So like, have you tried like the dating sites? Like what's like the Match.com situation down there? Like, I mean, there's so many people down there. Are there specifics that you're looking for that you're having a harder time finding? Trey says, I think Dusty put something in our food, so one parent would be home all week. Oh, man. Ah, geez, I'm sorry, Trey. That sucks. Damn. Well, at least it's not hockey season or anything, right? At least it's summer. You can just go outside and sweat it out. Gold Slayer says, with my last LTR ending in October, I found the women out there today in my age range, 34 to 45, have kids, are divorced, are previously married, multiple dads, and worse death than you or a combination. Yep. So that was why. So I'm 53 and Donna's 56. And I knew I didn't want someone younger than me. But the few women that I did talk to on Match who were in their mid-40s, you know, they got 13, 14-year-olds at home. And I'm like, no, I just finished all that. No. Yeah, so that age range, Ghost Slayer, that's rough for a relationship. You know what I mean? For a relationship. If you're just looking to hook up, it's a good age, especially right after the divorce. But if you're looking for a relationship, man, oh, at such a tough age. Trey says Hinge is allegedly the serious dating app, but you never used it. Yeah, I'm old school. Like, I didn't do Hinge or Bumble or any of that. Zuma says Match in South Florida sucks. Either women wanting a baby daddy or 20-year-olds wanting a sugar daddy. Jeez. Oh, that sucks. Damn it. 20-year-olds wanting a sugar daddy, for freaking hell. Gold says, yeah, so still are so delusional that they think they'll hold a candle to an uncompromised 20-year-old, 20-something. This is why older women dislike younger women, even though they're ones disqualifying them. Yeah. Tarko says, yeah, man, too many people, I fear. I've tried every dating app for 13 years. Occasionally I'll get a match, but quickly ghosted or blocked. Can't get to the actual date. Big drop-off since 2022. Well, it got cut in half in 2020, right? Because, you know, I don't know how it is where you guys are, but what did I see? Maybe 20%, 15, 20% of the profiles that I clicked on that I would have been interested in maybe were like no Trump supporters. I didn't see anybody that said no crazy liberals, but there were a lot of no Trump supporters. And, who knows what? I mean, to me, I don't care. But if you care, then like, I don't care who I voted for. If it bothers you so much who I voted for, that's not relationship material. This is a good question. Mythical says, how much does porn affect your brain so you lose motivation in life or relationships, or it affects your sex life? So I've had a few clients that we worked on with that. And the thing I've always come up with is watch it, but don't have orgasms. Don't finish. So like I know some people will use it as a tool to like keep themselves. These were older guys, you get to a certain age. Guys, and it doesn't just like, oh, look, a breeze blew. You know what I mean? But like if people get addicted to it and everything, yeah, you can totally get. I've known a couple of people that have just totally like gotten lost in that. And it's like anything else, man. You know what I mean? You can be an alcoholic, or you could just have a beer and it loosens you up and makes you less anxiety. You know what I mean? To me, it's like anything else. I know some people like to use it inside the relationship. I think as long as everybody's comfortable and nobody's getting addicted to it, it's no different than wine or a cigarette or anything like that. But that's just my personal opinion. Everybody's got their different opinions about that. Ghost Slayer says there have been attractive women that do social experiences as a guy and they don't get matches and have similar experiences to guys and then talk about how it messed up their self-esteem. Yeah, I've seen I've seen a few of those where the women pretend to be a guy and then they get completely ignored. I don't know what the answer is, unfortunately, for so many people, because it's like now there's so much information out there that especially women a lot of times will just overthink things. They'll just overthink. I was talking to a girl on Match. We didn't get out on a date. Well, we were talking for a couple of weeks. And I asked her, I said, well, what's it like being your boyfriend? How do you show up as a girlfriend? How do you present? What's it like being your boyfriend? She said, that's a weird question. That's a dumb question. I never thought of that. She had never thought about like how she shows up in a relationship. It was just, she was just going to like, she was kind of a taker. You could kind of tell that she had high expectations for the man. She wasn't necessarily looking for like a love relationship. It was more like a business partnership where there'd be occasional sex. Zuma says the one good person I lost it here. The one good person I got a match with in the app had to pay premium to chat with her. Yeah, that too, the money. Match got me. I signed up for 6 months, month-to-month basis. Before the second month was over, I was with Donna, and I canceled. And they immediately charged the rest of the membership to my card when I canceled. And they gave me access. So I think I still technically have access. Maybe not, because it'll be 6 months for Donna and I in a couple of weeks. Tarko says, yeah, I'm not into politics, but definitely see the no Trump. And they all think traveling is a personality, dog mom, not in the game. Oh, the traveling. Jesus. You know what that means. You know what that means. She wants to go on all the excursions. And if you're not available, she'll just go with whoever and just go away for a week at a time. Yeah. No thanks. Zuma says, I'll be honest, I used to have a porn addiction, but I switched it to escorts and one-night stands. I said, if I'm going to be addicted, might as well have human interaction. Yeah, totally agree there. Probably a lot more expensive, right? But certainly if you could change one, switch, that's a pretty good switch. That's a fine switch. Gold Slayer says, I just gone back to the old school method, see an attractive woman, compliment her attire, sense of style, not her physicality, or buy them a drink if able, and leave it at that for them to pursue. Yeah. Hey, Bex. Gold Slayer, that's a good technique. Yeah. I don't know. This is going to really sound bad. But I don't think I've ever done that. I don't think I've ever approached a woman and just given her a compliment like that. Somebody that I was like trying to, get to know better, possibly date. Again, I just never really approached women. Just never really approached women. Hey, Bex, everybody's good, man. Trey. Holy crap. So Mythical says, in a relationship, if one partner is sexting someone behind the other person's back, would I consider that cheating? 1,000,000%. That's not a relationship. That's not a relationship. And that's an open relationship, for sure. But absolutely, that is way beyond the boundaries of the Pride Lands, in my opinion, anyway. Hey, Colby, how you doing, bud? Tarko says, my app experiences these last few years, one match every few months, 80% never message me, 20% message me a few things, then ghost, not including the fake bot profiles. Jesus. I guess I got lucky. What did I get? I was talking with maybe, I think at most there might have been 6 or 7 conversations in my inbox going on within the first week. One girl said no Trump supporters, and I said, that's nice. Not because I'm a Trump supporter, but because if politics means that much to you, we're not a match. One girl kind of broken off after a little bit. One girl, this was interesting. She was, 38. She had a couple of kids. And like the second message in, she just wanted me to make sure that I knew that even when we were just typing, as she could not handle no profanity, no curse words, not even like shit or asshole. I said, well, good luck. And then there was the one that I asked what it was like to be her boyfriend, and that ended. And then there was the one whose husband was dying and just didn't tell me that she was married until the night before the date. And then there was Donna. And that is it. Colby says, going up to a woman today would get you on tape and called a creep. In some circumstances, yeah. Yeah, exactly, Kazuma. The problem with the compliment is a double-edged sword. Yep. So Beck says, how does everyone here have a feeling about this ethical non-monogamous term thrown around left and right now? So the way I roll is if two people want to do it, two people want to do it, right? Like if both people want it to be that way, why not? I mean, the way I look at it is it's not like the traditional man-woman relationship, marry, get 2 kids and all. It's not like that's working out spectacularly. You know what I mean? It's like that dynamic is proven to be kind of flawed. Of course, a lot of it has to do with economy and all of that crap. But if 2 young people want to do that, whatever. Like, I'm not going to stand here and preach about morality or anything like that. Yeah, exactly, Mythical. Colby, yeah, no cursing, yeah. Zuma says, my best friend is in an open relationship, never seen him so happy. You don't know how he does it. Well, yeah, I mean, it's everybody's different though, right? Yeah, everybody's wired differently. Colby. Beck says, I feel like it's everywhere on people's profiles now, just more often than it used to be. Let's put it this way. Here's what you guys know how I feel about it in the terms of Confessions of a Massage Therapist, right? I read between the lines. I was getting paid. So the overwhelming majority of people, relationships, they're already doing it. It's already happening. In most 60, 70, maybe 80% of the relationships, it's already happening at some point. So if you go into the relationship with like, all right, why don't we just skip the part where the sex with other people blows up the relationship and we're just open and honest about it in the beginning? How viable long term is it? I don't know. But people get divorced left and right anyway. You know what I mean? I don't know that there's a perfect relationship dynamic the way we got the internet and the availability of being able to cheat on your partner now is just, it's so like you don't know who's in her DMs. She don't know who's texting you. And if you ask, you called insecure or say, well, you don't trust me. It's like, man, it ain't like it was when I was a youngster. Trey says he'll be happy until she's the one using the openness of the relationship to her benefit. Yeah. Tarko says about a year ago, my buddy told me I should try going after older women on these apps. I'm an old soul and figured why not? So I increased the age range by 10 years older. 1 year later, 0 older matches. Really? Huh. Well, what age group did you go to? Gold Slayer, yeah, that's definitely a consideration. So we're getting ready to have a nasty thought. We got thunder and lightning. So if something happens, that's what's happened. Colby says the old phrase, if something doesn't work, change it, right? Yeah, Bex never saw the divorce coming. Yep. Ghost Slayer says another. Woo! Yeah, so if I suddenly disappear, I don't know if you guys caught that lightning, that thunder. If I suddenly disappear, that's why. Gold Slayer says, another dude peanut buttering my sandwich. I don't approve of. I like that. Colby says, do people get with their exes more often than we think? I'm thinking about that from my experience. You know, I don't think so. No. I don't think so. I've known a lot of, obviously from the massage days, I've known a lot of unfaithful women. And I don't remember any of them talking about going back to their exes. There had to maybe be one, but definitely wasn't prevalent. Trey, just go to Thailand. Oh, shit. All right, well, we just had a power flash, but I think I'm still here. Wow, that just increased the brightness on my laptop by about 1,000,000%. Jeez. That just increased the brightness on my laptop by a lot. I'm going to have to go in and change my settings. All right, I think we're still here, though. Tarko says you're 31, so your current net is 2240. You don't mind if they're older, but I think women prefer the man to be older. You're going too young. Bump it to 50. Bump it to 50. Yeah. Forget younger than you. Forget younger than you, Guitar Crow. I mean, unless you're looking to get married and have kids. If you're just looking for a stable-ish relationship where you're just seeing somebody on, time to time and having good sex, bump that up to 50. If that's what I would do. 40 is not old enough. That's not even 10 years older than you. That's just my personal experience. Mythical says, I used a fake profile picture as an experience of a jack guy with no shirt. I received a crazy amount of matches. Yep. It's crazy, man. Kazuma says, do I feel men and women can be friends for a while? I thought yes until years ago I developed feelings for one of my close friends and things went south. Is it possible? Yes. Does it increase significantly the likelihood that a relationship could be developed while you're in a relationship because you were just friends? Absolutely. It's playing with fire. Is it possible? Sure. I have friends, right? Dana is one of my closest friends. She's been a day one supporter of the channel. We text a lot, a couple times a week, unusual. I've got a few female friends from this channel that would never even remotely consider being romantic with. So it would be hypocritical of me to say it can't happen because it can. But there's lines there. Like I would never go, like if I'm in a relationship with Donna, like I wouldn't be like, hey, I'm going out to lunch with my girlfriend and we're going out to lunch and no, you won't be there. I would never even think about doing that. So there's got to be some kind of boundaries there. It's tough because you have to only let it go as far as you would want it to go, right? Don't go to lunch with your girlfriend if you don't want her going to lunch with her guy friend. Bex, yeah, we got it. We look okay. Trey. Trey, yeah, your girl's 28. Yeah, it goes there. It says possibility and probability are two very different things, right? Yeah, I mean, most of my luck has been with women. My ex-wife was 7 years older than me. Yeah. Karen was 10 years older than me. And Donna is 3 years older than me. So Donna's the closest in my age to the woman I've been in a relationship with. You know, and I when I created my profile, I aimed higher. I aimed for older because being 53, I knew what was going to be out there if I went for women 10 years younger than me. Guys say, oh, go get somebody younger. If she's 43 and single, there's a 90% chance she's divorced and's got kids at home, teenage kids. You know, unless she had kids really young and they're in just starting college, at which point you still got to deal with, you know, they're in college and she's going to go on trips to go visit the kids. And Colby, yeah, Donna has her own kids, but of course they're all grown. Her youngest kid is just about Kyle's age, I believe. Her daughter, no, that's wrong. That's wrong. I think, I'm not sure how old her youngest son is, but her kids are older. Mythical, yeah, you can meet mature women at 27, but at 22, 23, they're still figuring it out. Yeah. Colby, yeah, she's a grandma. Yeah. Yeah, she's a grandma. I am not a grandpa. Trey says at the end of the day, you're all going to get what you put in. And for some guys, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow. That's partially true. That's partially true. I think I would rearrange that to say at the end of the day, the best you're ever going to get is what you put in. There's a lot of times you don't get what you put in. There's a lot of times you don't get a return on investment. That's my opinion. Trey. You were getting treated well like that because before the flu, though, right? Yeah, I'll be a step grandpa soon. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I mean, that, you know, in terms of what Trey was saying about getting what you put into it, I'm trying to think about that. Yeah, I agree with Beck saying that's not always true. It can be true. It can be true. If you meet a good woman, it's true, certainly. But I don't think it's always true. Trey, yeah, exactly. Right, you get treated like a king because she gets treated like a queen. Absolutely. Yeah. And that dynamic is not easy to find. You know what I mean? That's a unicorn. There's only a few of them out there. Yeah. Hmm. I'm thinking about my current situation and how I've been talking about in the beginning of the stream, talking about, you know, remaining consistent. And a lot of times guys can feel like, in fact, I've got a video coming out about this tomorrow morning. There's a video on this channel coming out. It's called the 3-year relationship effort arc. And it's about the varying differences in how men give effort versus women give effort in a relationship that lasts 3 years. Beck says, after my divorce, I got into shape and started working on myself. I've never been more in shape, healthier in my life. Sometimes people focus on the other half and not on themselves. I wonder why this tends to happen after long relationships where people start to focus on themselves more. And it's interesting because very much ties into this video that I got coming out tomorrow. And I think it varies. I think for men, I guess for both, the reality of what the effort level that men and women put in is wildly different at times. But I think how we feel about the effort that we're putting in, I think by the time you leave a relationship, if it's a long-term relationship, you feel like you've put in so much effort and so much time and so much work into the relationship for it to fail. I think it's just a natural cause and effect to be like, you know what? I'm going to take care of myself now. Trey, yeah, exactly. You see staying in shape is putting into the relationship. Yeah. Beck's right. Tarko says, I often consider moving from South Florida in hopes of entering a better dating pool. And I'm stuck here for now, job and family. I'm surprised to hear that the dating pool down there is not fantastic. But if you're just looking to date and have fun, man, I'm telling you, raise that to 50. Unless you're wildly unattracted to 50-year-old women. That's the best suggestion I can give you there, man. I'm thinking back to my massage days, and especially where you're living down there, I'm sure there's plenty of 50-year-old women that well taken care of and kept themselves in good shape. They'd be happy to get a guy almost 20 years younger. And not a big difference between a hot 40-year-old and a hot 50-year-old in terms of body and all of that. It's just by the time they're 50, you've got a much better chance that she can't get pregnant. You know, that would be my suggestion. Enjoy it while you've got the ability to have the 50-year-olds be the much older women. Mythical, yeah, sometimes people go through events in life where they get depressed and staying in shape can be challenging. Sure. I was flabby by the time Karen left because of the stuff with the dogs. I didn't get fat, but I hadn't been to the gym almost 4 months. You know? Yeah, I've been bigger before. It's weird. Even when I'm skinnier, when I'm fat, I still is like 185 pounds, 180, 85 pounds. Like stays the same the whole time. Don't change a whole lot. Well, I thought the dating pool down there would be a little bit better for you guys. Just for pure quantity, you know. Beck says, I went to South Florida last month and dating apps were pinging like crazy. Where I live now in Colorado, not so much. Different states have different tastes. Right. Trey says, my body is weird. 180. I look like a kid in a UNICEF. Oh God, that's funny. That's I sound fat. 5'6", $180, $185. It's like, you fat. And then you look at me, it's like, wait a minute, where's the weight? I got big thighs. I got thick thighs. I got thick thighs. I don't know. It just doesn't, it looks like I'm skinny because I'm well proportioned. Jay says, wingspan is 6'4", shoe size 12. Everything about me says 6'2", except for the fact that you're actually 5'10". Right? Yeah, I get it. Tarko says, fitness is huge. I lost my mom and grandma, got depressed, gained weight, noticed the huge drop off in how people treated me when I was fat. You're in shape. You're just worth more. That's the truth, man. That is absolutely the truth. I mean, I could be in the same shape, and it just depends on where I go to the gym. You know, I could wear a baggy shirt. Ain't nobody looking at me. I'm just a short, bald dude. If I wear a tank top that fits, suddenly I'm the older dude that's jacked. Completely different person. I get treated completely differently, especially by the guys. Presentation is huge. You know, you got, and that's another thing. You got to know what your best assets are and use them. Oh, Kazuma says the worst thing I hate about dating is when a girl tells me I wish I meet a great guy like you, and you're like, duh, I'm right here. Hello. Yeah. Yeah, it's because what they say they want and what they really want are two very different things, which is why a lot of the ethical non-monogamy stuff is out there, because they want one guy for half of the stuff they want, and they want another guy for the other half of the stuff they want, because the expectations of it all coming in one guy permanently for the rest of their life, with all of the options that women have out there, it can happen, but it ain't likely. The culture is going in a weird direction, man. It really is. I didn't see a lot of that on Match here. The ethical non-monogamy. I didn't see very much of that. Travel and independence. Travel, independence. I have male friends. You have to be okay with me having male friends, and we go to functions and we do things together. I saw a lot of that. Kazuma says, my very first crush wanted a guy with your personality, with the looks and body of a model. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I didn't see a whole lot of ethical non-monogamy. I didn't see a bunch of that here. But the travel and the independence, good God. It's just like you don't want a relationship. You just want guaranteed sex. Right? They just want to be able to do whatever they're going to do all week, and then get together one night, have sex, and then go banter about the rest of the week the way that they want and call it a relationship. Because if they call it a relationship, you as the guy are likely to not go chasing any other women. While you're supposed to just, completely trust that when she's at lunch with her guy friend or on a work trip with this one, that everything is fine. I'm in a relationship with you. Why would I do anything with any of these other guys? Because you can, and I'm not saying they're all cheating, but I have been in the room I've been that dude. I've been in the room, in the hotel with the woman on the business trip, on the phone with her husband, saying, I love you. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Kiss, kiss, hug, hug. I love you. I'll talk to you in the morning. And she wasn't fixing to go to sleep. She wasn't fixing to. You see what I've been there. I've lived it. And tell you, my years as a massage therapist, the fact that I can still trust a woman at all is either a testament to my stupidity or resilience. Trey says, you mean guys want that too? I think less guys want that now than before. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. That's not been the experience of the guys that I've had as clients. Soon says, I hate it when your ex tries to be your friend. Remember last year, my ex sent me a friend request on Instagram saying, wanting to catch up and patch things up, even though she cheated. No, that's never a good idea. That's never a good idea. Trey says, true story. My mom thought my dad was getting too close with the lady from the Wisconsin office. They were in New Orleans for a conference years ago, and my dad was innocent, but I still smashed her to ensure the future of the family. That's wild. That's wild. Yeah, I agree there, Kazuma. How would I test or screen a female for her values, making sure she's the right one to spend on a long-term relationship? It's the hardest thing in the world, but you have to do it. And that is just dead, bald-faced honesty. Like, you can tell really early on in the conversations. Like when I was talking with Donna about male friends and female friends, she was intellectually honest about it. She was like, I don't want you hanging out with a woman, so I ain't going to be hanging out with a guy. Like it was a natural reaction that she had. It wasn't like, well, it depends. And well, I got this friend and that friend. It was, she repeated to me what I would have said to her if I would have said it first. She's like, I don't want you going out to lunch with some woman. I ain't going out to lunch with a guy. No. So it has to be a natural thing. You just lay out what your values are. And women today will let you know if they agree or not. That's where, for the most part, where the whole independent woman thing does come in handy. Because if you just lay out what your expectations are and what your values are, she's going to tell you if she agrees or not. And you'll know. Women of these days, generally speaking, aren't going to like fake it. But you have to have the courage. You have to have the courage to talk about those things up front and understand that there's going to be mismatches and you're going to lose girls if you're standing on whatever your morals and values are. You have to have the courage to do that and just be like, pop, pop, pop. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. This is what I can't have. This is what I can't have. And let them tell you. And if it's not a match, then you know what? No, I'm good. Can't do that. Can't do that. Kazuma says, here's the tip I learned as a Hispanic. If a random Latina girl at work or Starbucks tells you me more or my love, she's just being friendly. So many guys take it the wrong way. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, Kazuma. That's a trick. That's a trick. Yeah, they know what they're doing. They will tell certain guys that I didn't mean that. And then if the right guy gives her a response, she's already practiced saying it, so it comes off smooth and sweet. But they know what they're doing when they do it. You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but it's done. It's doing it purposefully. You know what I mean? Women, overwhelmingly, women know what they're doing. They know. A lot of women will play innocently, like, oh, I didn't realize you would take it that way, or no, I didn't mean it that way. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. But you might have only meant it that way to get a rise out of the guy so you could be the one that rejected him. I've seen that happen. I've watched that with some of my clients, the way that they treated their husbands. They would treat them a certain way and then tell them, oh, no, baby, that's not what I meant. And then when they leave, it's like, that's exactly how I feel, but I don't want him to feel bad. They meant it. Zuma says, I've seen guys' eyes light up when they hear sweet Spanish words. I even had to stop a guy in Starbucks from giving his number. I told him she said that to everyone. They're just fishing. They're just fishing. In New Orleans, everyone calls everyone baby. Yeah. Well, it's been my experience that they're just fishing with that. They can retract it at any given moment. Say, oh, everybody says. I say that to everybody. It's good cover. It's good cover for when they do mean it. I've seen it happen too many times behind closed doors. That's the thing, man. You would not believe what the women confess to their hairdresser and the massage therapist. It's like a truth serum. And the nail techs, but usually the nail techs are female. Like, I can't tell you the shit I overheard with, the girl be sitting there giving a pedicure and the manicure in the spa. And it's like the women just sit down and just like vomit. Like, if they're like, they've got to tell somebody. They've got to tell somebody. They got to get it out. They didn't care. I'm standing around. It's like what's said in the spa stays in the spa. I mean, I just got a whole new picture of life when I worked in the spa when I got out of massage school. It was wild. And I see them out with their husbands, and they're the most upstanding, great, fantastic couple you ever want to see, and get her alone inside that spa with the gaggle of women and the shit that she would talk about and confess to. Holy hell in a handbasket. Trey says, if you had dinner in New Orleans and the waitress said to Donna, what's she need, baby? And then says to Kyle, my heart won't be fluttering when she gets to me. All right, Bex. Oh, I ain't going to get me heart fluttering because I know how they talk. Zuma says that I see couples in Japan don't consider cheating if your spouse sleeps with an escort or a hooker, since it's not an emotional attachment. I know. I did not know that. I did not know that. That's wild. That's wild. Trey. Bang, bang, bang. Yeah. Oh, that was a great video. That guy. That was spectacular. Well, all right, guys. I think I'm gonna roll. We got lightning. I got to eat some dinner. I waited until the stream was over to get some dinner. I have fun hanging out with you guys. So I don't know if we're going to do an inappropriate conversations tonight or this weekend. We'll see. Donna's had a rough week at work, so we'll see. I don't think I'm going to the auction tomorrow, so I think we'll do a noon hockey stream. And then at night, we'll do the package opening stream. So, all right, guys, I will see you tomorrow at noon. Everybody go enjoy the rest of your night. As Trey would say, bang, bang, bang.